Hi, I'm Jill MacKay, and I love working with multimedia, especially leather. And I wanted to show you a couple of things about leather. There's two different thicknesses. This is a very thin lambskin, and it's used with a thin die to cut ornate shapes. This is a heavier weight that you would use for base pieces, and it would be cut with a thicker die and with a thicker plate. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is why I want to go over it. Let's cut the thinner leather first. I'm going to put this platform in, and you'll see that this base plate here is very thin. So what you want to remember, thin die, thin leather, thin plate. To cut the thin, we're going to put the leather right on top of that plate, and then we'll take the die and put it face down, just like that. Put a cutting pad on top of it to sandwich it in, and then just roll it through the machine. Just like that. Now this is the great part. Let me get this started, and you can see how ornate, because that leather is so thin, it really cuts beautifully. Now for the thicker leather, remember, thick leather, thicker die, thicker base plate. So we'll get rid of that platform for the last one, and I'll show you how to cut the thicker leather. We're going to put this shuttle in. I'm going to take one of these dies, put it there, and then take this beautiful piece of bronze, and I'm going to put it face down, and again with a cutting pad to sandwich it all together, and then just put it through, get it started there. Put it through and cut out my shapes. Some of the larger shapes are so ornate that you might have to remove a few pieces, just like that, but it's really fun to die cut leather. So this is a metallic, so they put all different kinds of finishes on leather these days, but don't forget you can also paint it, stamp it, and stencil on it. So let me show you a couple of the finished pieces. This is the very thin lambskin, though I have glued it back to back, so there's 2 layers of lambskin. It's nice on both sides, because remember, leather has a finished side and an unfinished side. This is many different layers. So I have 2 layers of thick leather, the cow, and then this ornate shape here is the lambskin, the very thin. And here I have a layer of the thick leather that I've beaded, and a smaller die cut shape that's beaded as well. The next necklace over really has a lot of detail. I went kind of crazy and fancy because I beaded the leather, and then I beaded a layer of the thinner lambskin, and then I put a charm on top. You can just go crazy with multimedia looks. If you check this one out, I've taken and really included a lot of different metal components with the different layers of leather. This is 2 layers. Again, I really like to use 2 layers because it's kind of thin otherwise. Even the thicker gets a little floppy. So this is 2 layers of thick with a layer of ornate thin on top. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's really great fun to work with my favorite natural material, leather.